Hi everyone, I'm Dave and I love movies. So, welcome to my podcast, The Reaction Shot. In each episode, I'll dive deep into a movie of any genre that holds a special place in my heart. But here's the twist. I bring on a guest who has never seen that movie before, until now. We discuss, dissect, and review from pre to post-production to behind-the-scenes stories and well into its impact on pop culture. Will we agree on everything, or will we have wildly different views? Thanks for hitting play. Let's roll tape and find out. Fade in. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Reaction Shot. Today, for episode 15, we are doing the 2018 psychological dark comedy thriller, A Simple Favor. Joining me today is my cousin, Chelsea Gates. Chelsea, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're doing a podcast with me.
I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited.
Why are you nervous?
This is just not this is not normal for me. Movies are not normal for me to sit and watch.
Well, as I'm sure everyone listening knows, I love movies, so I'm sure, growing up, I've talked a lot about movies with you, and
Always.
yeah, to the point where you're probably like, okay, let's stop talking. Obviously, this is why I started the podcast, so I think it's cool that you're here to talk about them with me in front of everyone else.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really appreciate you being here.
absolutely.
What happened was I gave Chelsea a list of some movies that I thought maybe she would enjoy. I had her narrow it down to a couple of different films, and I ended up deciding on A Simple Favor. I thought the tone of the film would be a really good conversation piece for us. It has some crime in it. It has some comedy, maybe a little bit of romance. So I thought this would be a perfect pick for us. Do you think it was a good pick for me, Chelsea?
I think so, especially for the first time of me doing something like this. I could watch it. I wasn't scared. That's one thing. I didn't want to be scared.
Yeah, Chelsea knows my love for horror films, so I didn't make her watch any horror films right now.
No, I can do
I
some.
just said you do good with them. You're Michael Myers.
The movies, yes. I do not need him to come around me. Yeah. But no, I thought this was good. I thought it was a great start for my first time on a podcast.
Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what we're going to be looking at here is a little breakdown of A Simple Favor. It came out in 2018. It was actually released on September 14th. So your birthday. Yeah, and it's basically its 6-year anniversary. Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. This will be released the day before the actual 6-year date. So that's awesome. So happy early birthday to you, Chelsea. And happy early anniversary to you, A Simple Favor. All right, so A Simple Favor is a psychological dark comedy thriller. It was made on a budget of $20 million. For opening weekend, it brought in $16 million. So it almost made back its budget just its first weekend. The worldwide gross at the end of it all ended up coming to $97.6 million. So it was definitely a huge hit. The film is based on the book of the same name, written by Darcy Bell. The book came out in 2017, so almost immediately with publication, it turned into getting the film rights and was made into a movie. Yeah, so fun fact, my mom, I loved the movie when we saw it. I told my mom about it. I bought her the book. She loved the book. So she came over to babysit her dogs one time, and I told her, I was like, A Simple Favor's out. You can watch it at home. You should definitely check it out. So she did. She hated the movie. It's a different tone. So the book, from my understanding, I did not read the book. From my understanding, the book kind of relies heavily on the thriller side of it all. The crime, it's compared to Gone Girl a lot. Obviously, we get some pieces of that throughout the movie, but the tone is definitely a lot different. So I think my mom kind of went in, expecting something and ended up getting, all this comedy tinged crime thriller. So she was not a fan of Anna Kendrick at all. I think in the book, she's a straight-laced person, much like Anna Kendrick plays her, but also Anna Kendrick has that comedic side to her. which I don't think is present in the book, and it's all that fun stuff. So yeah. So the screenplay was written by Jessica Sharzer, and the film is directed by Paul Feig. Do you know any other movies by Paul Feig? Have you heard that name before?
Sure.
Me? Give information about a movie?
I'm sure. I'm not always knowing.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I will say, I'm just gonna name one movie that's pretty iconic. So, director of this film, Paul Feig, also directed Bridesmaids. Yes, there you go. I knew you were gonna see it. Obviously, Bridesmaids was a huge hit. Even as a comedy, ended up getting a Best Supporting Actress nomination. Bridesmaids has a great of the film. I think Paul Feig has a very distinct comedic style when it comes to his film. He almost borderlines spoofing things a bit, which I think is great. Yeah. So thanks, Paul Feig. So a simple favor, where we stand today on Rotten Tomatoes, we are at an 84% based on 259 critic reviews. It's also a 73% on 5,000 plus audience reviews. On Letterboxd, the score is an average of 3.2 out of 5. On Internet Movie Database, we're at a 6.8 out of 10. On Metacritic, we're at 67 out of 100. So, Chelsea, how do you feel about these ratings? Rotten Tomatoes, we're at an 84. We're at a 3.2 out of 5, 6.8 out of 10, and 67 out of 100. Where do you fall on the scale of 1 to 10, 10 being one of my favorite movies, rewatchable, 1 being like, I don't know why I watched this?
I feel for me, I would say maybe like a.
Yeah, we'll do a 7.5. Okay, so we're at a 7.5 for you, Chelsea. I actually give it an 8 out of 10. We're pretty close. We are pretty close. So obviously, while we're talking through this, we're kind of see what each other likes, doesn't like, etc. So yeah, did very, very close. So it's good to know. I feel like sometimes, with other guests I've had in the past, sometimes we're on different sides of the scale there. So it's nice that we kind of have a similar idea and like about the film. So awesome. Cool. All right. So my history with A Simple Favor is I heard about the film. I'll be honest, I didn't really pay much attention to it. I'm not necessarily a huge Anna Kendrick fan. It's not that I don't like her. She's not someone that I just follow. Right. Oh, I wonder what the next Anna Kendrick movie is going to be. However, what sparked my interest was Blake Lively. I do really enjoy Blake Lively. I think she is, a pretty good actress. And of course, I was one of the people that was obsessed with Gossip Girl. So yeah, yeah. So I was excited hearing about this, but I'll be honest as well, it kind of fell off the radar. So I saw a trailer for it. I was like, all right, that looks cool. And then kind of didn't hear anything about it. And then it was released. So Zach and I ended up seeing that it was released. So we went to go see it in a movie theater close to us. So my expectation from it was essentially just, going off of the trailer that we saw, which kind of relied heavily on the crime and thriller side of everything. So when we got into the theater and, halfway through the movie, I was like, oh, I love this. It's really funny. It still has all the crime and psychological aspects to it. Yeah. So I really enjoyed it. Afterwards, I went online, I went on social media, and I started ranting and raving about the movie. And I made an Instagram post. I tweeted, and Paul Feig, the director, actually liked my tweet. So basically, we're best friends now.
Totally are.
Yeah. So yeah. So thanks, Paul. We appreciate it. I'll call you later, bro. Yeah. But so again, I really liked the movie, so I'm glad that I got to share with you. So, what is your history with A Simple Favor?
Pretty much nothing. Remember hearing about it. Honestly, I don't even remember that Anna Kendrick was going to be in it. So I think I only just recognized that Blake Lively was in it. And again, like you said, I loved her from Gossip Girl and all that type of stuff. So I was like, okay, so I'll see how this goes. And when you told me to watch this, and then other than that, that's about it.
Wow.
So really,
Yes, you definitely went into it blind.
very blind because I don't watch a lot of movies.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Well, I'm obviously glad that you liked it. It's definitely the tone of the film isn't for everyone, so I understand why some people don't like it. But all right, so let's get into the cast a little bit. All right, so for the film, we have Anna Kendrick, who plays Stephanie. We have Blake Lively, who plays Emily. We have Henry Golding, who plays Sean. We have Andrew Rannells as Darren. We have Linda Cardellini as Diana. Rupert Friend as Dennis, and the iconic Jean Smart as Margaret. Did you recognize Jean Smart when she?
I did, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna talk about her, and I cannot think her name to save my life. And so finally, I was like, is it Joan? Joan? I was like, no, it's not Joan.
Hey, you got the J down.
I was close, but I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, it's Jean.
No.
Could you sense it? Yeah.
Yeah, you got, and it's great too because, she is such a recognizable face. She is, pretty much iconic.
Yeah.
When she's on screen, she kind of, commands attention. So even though she's only on screen for a very few minutes, it's great that she was a part of this. So it's kind of nice being in the theater. Like, Jean Smart's here.
That's kind of how I felt when I was watching it in my family room.
You made the same sound. You're like, Jean's here.
That face.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So obviously we got a really good cast here. I feel like this movie's actually casted really well, to be honest. I think I can't really imagine anyone else playing these characters, to be honest. I think Blake Lively is perfect in the role because, she just like Jean Smart kind of commands the attention. In my opinion, I think Blake is strikingly beautiful.
I would agree.
I think love that you're kind of rooting for her. She's not a villain.
I wouldn't say that.
You're still rooting for her. There's, I'm not saying that the things that she's doing in this film are good things. She is kind of a meanie. She's got a lot to say. She's very honest. So she made me laugh quite a bit. Anna Kendrick, you assume you're gonna laugh.
Sure.
Blake Lively, I'm like, oh, you're fun.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, it was nice to see Blake kind of playing a slightly darker role. Fun fact, she actually wore the pantsuits in the film and like the different like tuxes that she would wear.
Mm-hmm.
So the tuxes that she would wear were to kind of match Paul Feig's style, because he would always wear a tux on set when he was filming the film. She also used that wardrobe to kind of distinguish herself away from Gossip Girl.
Okay.
So, she was still high fashion, but in a different type of way.
Okay. I could see that.
She didn't want, everyone to think that she's Vander Woodston all over again.
Gosh darn it. I don't know if she could play all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I could watch her be Gossip Girl as
All the time.
often as possible. Well, I guess we can probably jump into the film.
Okay.
When you get into this film, when you first hit play, where we're starting at is a vlog. And in that vlog, being hosted by Anna Kendrick, her character Stephanie is talking to us, the audience, as we're watching on like a YouTube type screen. What is she telling us?
She is telling us that her friend Emily has gone missing.
Yes. With the film, we would literally jump right into, we know that we're walking into a crime situation. Her best friend is missing. We don't know the story behind it. So it's kind of cool. We kind of pick up in this spot.
Sure.
Anna Kendrick's character, Stephanie, seems to have like a baking show that she does on YouTube.
Yeah. And I'm here for it.
You're here
Love
for
to
it.
bake.
Do you feel like you kind of relate to Stephanie?
I feel like,
Are you going to start vlogging?
no, we're not going to vlog. No. This is pretty intense for me now. No, I'm not going to vlog, but I could totally bake.
Well, that's good.
I can bake and send my stuff to vlogger.
Well, there you go. I think that's a great idea. It could be Bakes by Chelsea.
Hey, whatever.
I'm down for it.
Whatever.
One little quote that I really like in this opening scene, and it kind of sets up how her character is. On the vlog, she says, "It's like my mom used to say, secrets are like margarine, easy to spread, but bad for the heart."
It's so good. I love it so much.
This movie has some really good lines too.
They do.
Between everyone, I think everyone kind of has like these snippy, slightly sarcastic lines.
And
Love it.
if you're not like fully paying attention, you're gonna miss it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no, that was like
It's quick.
really good.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Quick-witted humor. We love it. So the next scene here are now kind of in present day. So we assume that we're kind of working backwards to where this crime started or exactly what's happening, who is her best friend, etc. In the opening scene here, we have Stephanie in a classroom with other moms and
dad.
And dad.
Yeah, and dad.
Again, so fun fact, Darren was actually a woman in the script and a woman in the book.
Okay.
So Paul Feig thought it would be funny because, again, one of the great things about this movie is, it's about, sometimes we don't have that mom figure in our life. So this gay man is a mom to this child. So I think that's great that they incorporated that type of thing into this storyline too.
I loved it.
Yeah. So we got the moms, we got the dad, and they are sitting here pretty much judging Stephanie and her motherly ways. You can just tell she's her extra ways. Is this how you would go into a classroom?
No, maybe not to that extent. No.
Yeah, so she's basically, talking with her kid, and she's trying to tell her kid to calm down, to play nice, and signing up for all the extracurricular things, and being mother of the year.
Mother of the year. Yeah.
Uh, until we meet the lovely Emily, who's obviously mother of the year.
I'll
Ugh.
tell ya.
So here we are going to get introduced to Emily, our missing person.
Mhm.
With this being more of a modern day moment, she is obviously not missing at this point. So on the outside, both of their kids, Miles is Stephanie's son. Miles really wants to have a play date with Nikki, which is Emily's son. And when Emily arrives to pick them up, we kind of get introduced to Emily's character, and she's wonderful.
She's just bold. She,
So bold.
I feel like I'd be a little intimidated by her if I met her like that.
Yeah, she gets out of a car. It's slow motion, very cinematic. It's raining, but she has really nice outfit on. She has this big hat. She has an umbrella. She has really nice pink shoes. I mean, she's walking into the school like a fashion show.
Yes, fashionista over here.
She's owning it. So finally, she walks up to Stephanie, and the kids are like, "Ask her, ask her," and Emily's like, "Ask her what? Like, what are we asking?" And the kids want to have a play date. Emily's kind of like, "Mommy already has a play date with a symphony of antidepressants." I mean, that's pretty great.
Kids can be a lot.
Yeah. So you have kids, obviously. 3 kids, and do any of them ever want to have little play dates?
All the
To
time.
get all the kids over?
Wants to have play dates all the time. Luckily, we do have some kids around that she can be entertained.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, well, basically now what we're doing is we're getting this play date. It's about to happen, and Stephanie obviously goes over to Emily's house. All the kids play, and Emily lets Stephanie know that she really likes to make a good martini. Stephanie's like, "Oh, I don't know how to make a martini. Like that's so fancy." So they go over to Emily's house, and obviously it's this nice, big, beautiful house. And what can you tell me about this scene? Entering into Emily's house, there's paintings on the wall. One painting is of Emily herself in the nude. Stephanie's like, "Oh."
Yeah. You could totally tell that Stephanie's like totally uncomfortable,
Yeah.
I would say, uncomfortable where she's at, or just trying to figure out this life because she is not this type of person. I think Stephanie, she kind of says it well when she enters into the house. Like she's pretty much like a basic mom. She likes to shop at Target. She wears funky socks and all these fun colors, this high energy.
Yep.
And then you go into Emily's house and it's just very gray.
Very great.
Gray and not very
Yeah, very plain.
homey.
Yeah.
If that makes sense compared to Stephanie.
Yeah.
Where Stephanie's just very vibrant.
Right. And I love when Stephanie walks into the house and she's like, "Oh, this is such a nice place," and Emily's like, "Oh, it's a money pit."
Yes.
So Stephanie definitely appreciates a really nice place. And
This kitchen. She
Yeah.
kept complimenting the
she did compliment the kitchen. That'd be a great place to have for her vlog.
for her vlog.
For her
Yes.
vlog. Great cooking space. In the scene, we're also introduced to the oopsie jar. With the oopsie jar, we actually hear Emily say "fuck," and Stephanie goes, "Oopsie."
Oh yeah. Oops. That's right.
So
The oopsie jar.
as
Right.
Emily looks at her and she's like, "What?" So Stephanie says, "Oh, I'm sorry. It's what we say in my house when someone swears.
Yeah.
You have to put a quarter in the oopsie jar." And then she says, "It's a force of habit. Sorry." And then this is when Emily looks at Stephanie and says, "Don't do that. Don't say sorry."
Yeah.
She makes a comment about how women are often forced to say sorry for things they should not be apologizing for.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find you say sorry a lot?
Yes and no. I think it just depends on the situation. I feel like if I was in this situation, I would, because if I was Stephanie, I would feel so uncomfortable being in that house that I feel like everything that I did,
Mhm.
because I feel like I would be intimidated
Yeah.
by Emily to where I'd be like, I'm just going to apologize because I don't know what I'm doing.
No, yeah, I totally get that. So I'll be honest, I'm a very I'm sorry person. So even when I saw this at the theater, I was like, yeah, you say that, Emily. I shouldn't say sorry. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry that I say
So I'm sorry that I said some things.
Sorry's all around, guys. But no, I think that's a great thing that Emily said that. I do think that we as a society, as women, as anyone really, that we shouldn't apologize for things that we feel or say.
Right.
It is how we feel. It is what we want to say. So there should be no reason to say sorry. So if it offends someone or makes someone uncomfortable, It is what it is. I'm not sorry.
I'm not
So
sorry.
I'm not sorry. Wise words of Emily. Don't say I'm sorry.
Take that one with
That and the oopsie joke.
I will say I do make up some fun different words sometimes when things come out of my mouth.
Oh, for sure.
I try.
What's your favorite?
My favorite? Gosh, that's a great question.
If you're pulling one of your really good baking goods out of the oven and your oven mitt slips off,
Oh.
you touch the pan,
I don't know. I feel like I would just say like, gosh, darn, that hurt so bad.
you can hear the pain in her voice, God. Me, on the other hand, I'd be like, never mind, I'm not even gonna go into yeah. I don't want to get that aggressive on there.
Too soon.
So Emily says that she really loves having a good martini because it makes her forget that she's living in this shithole of a house. So obviously she's not a very happy person. A little grumpy. Stephanie takes the time to kind of walk around the house, and then she decides to start dancing to some music that she hears. Just kind of grooving around a little bit, and then of course Emily comes around the corner and catches Stephanie in the dancing act, and Stephanie's like, oh,
yeah,
super embarrassed because of course that's not how Emily would perceive her day.
Correct.
Emily would hear some music and just be like, oh, this is cool. This is the worst song ever.
The worst song ever.
Let me pop a pill. So in the scene, we see Emily making a martini. The martini is a gin martini, and the gin label is Aviation.
Okay.
That is actually Blake Lively.
Is it her?
It's her gin.
Cool.
Yeah.
See?
Her and good old Ryan Reynolds. That's their gin. So of course this is a good way to put that gin out there. So I'm not really a martini person.
I'm not a gin person.
I was gonna say I would be a vodka martini if we're having
a vodka martini.
Yeah, gin to me.
Just too many memories.
No.
I'll just leave it.
So while she's making the martini, they're obviously getting to know each other a little bit since this is the first time they're meeting. And Emily asks if she's married or has a boyfriend, and Stephanie lets her know that she is actually widowed. Her husband and her brother died in a car accident. So she says that in one quick moment, her entire life changed and she lost the two most important men in her life.
Yeah.
So super sad. Stephanie said she doesn't like to talk about stuff like that a lot. And then she apologizes for bringing it up. She says, if you say sorry one more time, I'm going to slap the shit out of you.
Yeah. I'm just like, this is great.
Then she's like, sorry.
Sorry.
Well, Emily asks her if she's been dating or anything, and she says no. Rest of their conversation, they just, again, kind of get to know each other. They start the martinis, and she says, Mother Teresa and I are the same person, which obviously is not real here.
Really?
The complete opposite.
Yeah.
So the two gals are hanging out and having a good time.
Now, they did mention the tattoo.
Yeah.
On her wrist.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Correct. Yep.
On Emily's wrist.
Emily's. Yep.
Yeah.
So Emily has a tattoo on her wrist. It's a...
Isn't it like a flame and then like a charity symbol?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is a charity symbol?
I don't know what a charity symbol is. I understand what it's going to mean later.
Yeah.
But I don't.
So like if someone said, hey, I just got a charity symbol tattoo, I'd be like,
cool.
Does it say charity?
I know. I'm like, I don't know what that really means.
They couldn't have picked a different type of, well, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll get
there. But yes, but her tattoo was introduced here.
Yes. So we are introduced to her tattoo, and then Sean comes home from work. So we get to meet good old Sean, played by Henry Golding. And they're very kissy, very lovey. Stephanie's watching them, just kind of like
so awkward. Yeah. I would feel awkward.
Oh, I would.
Just me sitting there like, okay, what's happening? Honestly, the vibe though that I got from this, watching it, I felt like Sean felt a little uncomfortable too.
Absolutely.
A little bit. Not to like the full extent, because obviously that's his wife kissing him, but I felt like he was even like, okay, I think we've taken it to the next level. Mm-hmm. I think we can that's just a little bit of the body language I felt.
There's almost like a fakeness to it.
Especially from Emily. But for him, I think he was like, okay, my wife is loving me, but then at the same time, like, why are you loving me?
Yeah. So in this moment, Emily lets Stephanie know that she is, they're on the verge of bankruptcy. They're having a hard time finding a nanny. Basically, their life is in shambles.
Yep.
So she's like, damn, you're really opening up and telling me everything. I mean, this is the first time they met.
Oh, yeah. And I think they've had like 2 sips of the martini.
Yeah, well.
Just saying.
Literally 2 sips.
Yeah.
Kind of jump forward a little bit, and we have Stephanie heading to school, and here she runs into good old Stephanie. Stephanie runs into Emily again, and they're at the park while their kids are playing.
Yeah.
And Emily gets really upset with Stephanie because of why.
She took her picture without her asking one, but just taking our picture in general. She wants it deleted.
Yes.
Like, stick.
You remember when we saw this in the theater, and she's like, "Did you just take my picture?" And she says it's so, like, she's so pissed.
Again, I would be so nervous to be around her right now.
Do you think this is how she is in real life, like intense, but like
intense, but like in a good way?
In a good way, yeah.
And herself, knows who she is. Again, she's unapologetic about it.
Yep.
And I love that.
Yeah, big support there. She says, "Did you take my picture?" Stephanie's just kind of like,
like,
I don't know how to answer this because, duh.
Like, yeah, I did.
literally just did. And she says, "Erase it."
Yeah.
Stephanie's like, "Damn."
Yeah, like, oh.
She's like, you look really great. I'm going to add it into the yearbook, faces and places for the mothers of the kids.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You look really great. It's only for the other parents to see. Anyone who has the yearbook will be seeing it." And she says, "I do not want my picture taken." Steph goes, "Okay, whoop, click, it's on."
It's the quirks from Stephanie that I'm just like,
right.
I do things like that. I do.
I mean, I can see you being that type.
Yeah.
And that's a compliment.
Yeah.
She's fun.
I try to be
You are.
Try to be fun. But yeah, no, I can see myself in both of them.
Okay.
I can see both sides a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm like, be you.
Yeah.
Well, sure. Stand your ground. But then I'm also like, gosh darn it, you're not doing the right thing.
I'm not a big reader, unfortunately. I would like to read the book just to kind of see the difference.
Honestly, didn't know it was a book, so I want to read it.
Yeah.
I've been reading a lot lately, so now that I've seen the movie, I'll read the book.
I've heard there's quite a bit different too, so you can let me know.
Excited too, because of how you said what your mom thought of it.
Yeah.
So I'll be happy.
Yeah, so you can.
Most of it.
Yeah. I think some people, when they saw Anna Kendrick get cast in the role, they're just kind of like, "Oh, that doesn't make sense to me." It very much makes sense in the context of the film and the tone. Paul Feig actually said that he wanted to make all the colors very bright because a lot of times you see these crime things unfolding and it's always dark and grim. With this, he wanted the bright colors to pop out because the crime and the heartache and all the craziness can happen at any time of day.
Correct.
To anyone.
I like that.
Yeah. So I love that he took that aspect. Stephanie says, "I didn't mean to offend you. I'm sure that stuff makes you really sensitive." And she says, "I'm probably normally just like the rest of your friends. Like, I think we get along well." And she's like, "You don't want to be friends with me."
Again, I don't know if I would.
Yeah.
I'd be intimidated.
Yeah.
If I was Stephanie. Only if I was Stephanie.
Yeah. And then because even in this moment, Emily gets a call from her boss and she tells her boss to fuck off.
Yeah.
And Stephanie's like, "Wait, that was your boss? That's how you talk to your boss?" And Emily says, "Don't ever call me again. Bye," and hangs up. And Stephanie's like, "Whoa, that's how you talk to your boss? That's crazy."
Yeah.
And she says, Emily's like, you really got to get at them, especially the powerful ones, or they will fuck you in the face.
I'm telling you. But you know what? I loved that.
Yeah.
Because again, it's true. You stand your ground. Don't apologize for it. Just do it. If this is how you feel about something, I think you need to vocalize it.
Yeah. And I think
maybe not to that extreme.
Well, we should for sure. Yeah. God, could you imagine?
Oh no.
But I like what you said. You're a little bit of both, and I think that's a great thing about both these characters because they are somewhat polar opposites but relatable. But as the film goes on, they kind of, well, at least with Stephanie, Stephanie very slowly starts to turn into Emily and adapt to how she is as a human.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And
love that quote, like that line of everything. Yeah. And then obviously it will play into later in the movie too.
Oh yeah. Stephanie kind of turns into exactly what Emily is doing. Like her persona, how she goes day by day, and she very much turns into that type of creature. Yeah. And I think that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So
I think she just becomes more curious of Emily's lifestyle.
Yes.
The start of it.
Yeah. And another fun thing is Stephanie's outfits very slowly get darker throughout the film. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Yes. Again, I kind of feel like I've watched this in a different way because I've listened to all your other podcasts.
Nice.
So I feel like now I'm watching movies in a different way, which is good because I was like, oh, I've never done that. But I also still don't watch a ton of movies.
That's okay. I mean, you're busy. You have kids, a lot of crazy life stuff going on. So I totally get it. But I do have a thing. I think I've mentioned in another podcast, or if I haven't, but one of my big things is I always say every movie deserves 3 watches. The first time you're watching it visually, second time you're listening to it, you're listening to it,
Sure.
and the third time your senses finally put everything together,
Mhm.
and now you can fully take in the film for what it is.
I would say that's pretty true.
Yeah. So
I like that.
so basically, if you guys are watching movies, you should watch it 3 times.
All right. I need to watch this one more time.
Yeah. Now we are back at Emily's house. Stephanie and Emily are drinking some more martinis, which is obviously the things that Emily likes to do. And here we're really seeing the contrast of their characters, the differences that they have. And Emily is very blunt with Stephanie. She tells her she's nerdy, things like that. She had no idea how to make a martini, so she watches Stephanie kind of engrossed in it. And of course, Stephanie takes a little sip of her martini, and then Emily just tosses her
Down.
like a pro.
She's like, this is great.
Blake Lively actually doesn't drink in real life.
Really?
She doesn't drink alcohol.
So they have a gin.
Yep.
But doesn't even drink it.
Nope. So she had to learn from experienced bartenders how to make a martini the correct way. And then when they were doing promo for the film at film festivals on stage prior to the movie, while she was talking about it, she made a martini on stage.
Well, look at that.
Yeah, to get real into character.
See, I like all these little fun facts.
Yeah.
Fun facts are my favorite.
I love when people really get into the characters and kind of play them, off screen as well.
Sure.
Want to break away from exactly that. I did talk about this in another podcast too. Of course, sometimes that can take a toll, especially with someone like Heath Ledger with the Joker.
Yeah, I think that's so.
And it's, that method acting, getting into it, not breaking character is a good thing, but can have consequences. I do like that, Blake kind of owned this character, especially, doing things that she doesn't normally do in real life. So sure, let's learn to make a martini. I'm going to make it for everyone because I learned that.
Because I learned this, so let's do this.
So now the girls are drunk. At least Stephanie is drunk. Stephanie is drunk.
She's feeling it.
I feel like Stephanie had one martini and she is tanked.
She was like half.
So now she's just rambling, saying the most off-the-wall stuff. One of my favorites is when she goes, "I wish I smelled like you."
So good.
And then of course Emily's just like, "Oh yeah, I know I smell wonderful. It's this perfume."
Yeah.
And then she says, "I would love it, girlfriend."
She's starting to get sloppy, and Emily's like,
Yep.
okay, I know where this is going.
Yep. Judging hardcore.
For sure.
Totally accept it. So this seems very important to the film. Here, Emily says, "You want to trade some confessions. What is the wildest thing you've ever done?" And Stephanie's like, "No, I don't want to go into this. You go first."
Sure.
So Emily's like, "Well," you can tell that she's really thinking, because I think this girl has done some wild shit.
I believe it for sure. But she's like, what could I say
Yeah,
that would be like something that would get her going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what she's about to say, it's like, okay, is this the most tame thing you're saying?
Right.
Or is this really the wildest thing you're telling her? So she ends up saying, "A few months ago, Sean and I had a TA over for dinner and drinks and a threesome."
Yeah.
And Stephanie is like, "Whoa, was Sean jealous of him?" And Emily shoots back and says, "Whoever said it was a him?" Stephanie's like, "Oh," and then gives her like this really goofy wink. So
But she's uncomfortable.
uncomfortable 1,000%.
Like threesome, one thing, but
Yeah.
a threesome with another girl.
Like, yeah, here's this little awkward wink for you. You're so saucy, girl.
Yeah.
She goes, "That's very cool, sis. Very cool."
Very cool.
All right. So Emily's like, "Okay, I didn't mean to freak you out." She kind of knows that, Stephanie's kind of the straight-laced person.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm cool. I wasn't fair.
Yeah.
So here we get a little confessional from Stephanie.
Yeah.
So Stephanie talks about how at the funeral of her father, her brother arrived.
Her, what was it, half brother? She didn't know that she had a half brother.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she didn't know she had a half brother. Kind of turned to him because now she has this connection. It's kind of like, I lost my dad. My dad was a really understanding person, and I didn't have that outlet anymore.
Sure.
So she's seeing this person as, okay, well, now I have a brother. And she's like, well, this guy finally sees me. And long story short, they end up having sex. So she just had sex with her brother.
Half or not? No.
Half or not, yes.
No.
So this is her half brother. She was in a very vulnerable state. Still doesn't make this okay.
Vulnerable state then and now.
Yes.
Right.
So I remember being in the theater, just like, my God, what?
They went there.
They went there. I mean, we pretty much get to see him in the act too. So they don't even keep it hidden from us. They're just kind of like, yep, here she is with her half brother.
That's how it happens.
They weren't halfway doing anything.
They were not happy.
Yeah.
It was full Well, there.
And my favorite part of this whole thing, because it's so like when you're watching it, you're like, this is so awkward, and you're just kind of like, are we really going here? And then once she finally gets the verbiage out that they actually went all the way and that sex actually happened,
Yeah.
without a beat, Emily goes, "You brother fucker."
So good. Like, she's so proud of her.
So proud.
Like, so proud of her. But then I feel like in the back of her head, she's like, okay.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Yeah.
this threesome.
Yeah. She's like, okay, maybe I was a little bit tame with that threesome.
Yeah.
But just the way she's so quick with it and says, "You brother fucker," so funny. I think I laughed out loud in the theater.
I laughed out loud in my home when I was watching it. But it's right here as like girlfriends talking to each other.
Yeah.
It's like a genuine response thing.
Yep.
Where you're like, oh my gosh, like, did this really happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, right now. It's great. Good. Did this really happen? It did.
Yeah. So this is big time confessional right here. I mean, that's something to really put out there in the world. And it's and then Emily says, "I've got a brother fucker taking care of my kid."
So good.
Okay, so the whole idea of the whole brother fucker thing is obviously very cringe.
Yeah.
I think in a mainstream film, it was very ballsy to kind of go there, especially show it knowing who this person is. But I give it props. Again, I'm not saying it's cool or normal or anything like that, and don't think those things should happen. I think that
Did it tastefully.
they did it tastefully. Yes.
They did.
And it works in the context of the film. So, moving on from this, the weirdness and awkwardness and grossness of it all, it works.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much a plot point. She does refer to her as brother fucker many times throughout the film.
Yeah.
A few of them we'll have to definitely touch up on. So the scene ends and is the next morning. And of course, Stephanie is taking some aspirin because she's got a big old hangover from all of her martinis.
The martinis session.
And she gets a phone call from Emily. And Emily says, "I have a simple favor to ask you."
She does.
Simple favor.
Yes.
What do you think about movies that have the words and like the actual title in the dialogue?
It doesn't usually bother me.
No, I always think of, do you ever watch Family Guy?
No, but my husband does.
Okay. There's
You would know.
an episode of Family Guy where they literally, Peter talks about how he thinks it's funny when they do that. So there's like a little segment where they show him at the movie theaters or like watching movies, and they say it and he goes, they're every. So when they said that in the film, in my mind, Peter Griffin was sitting there going, that doesn't even sound like Peter, but it's fine. So no one judge me on that. But it's just so funny because I feel like it's something that doesn't happen often, but when it does, that's little Peter Griffin just in the back of my head.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna say that's good. I'll have to.
Yeah, anyone could literally probably just look up that Peter Griffin laughing at titles in films. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So here, do you remember what the favor is that Emily is asking?
I think here she is asking Stephanie to watch Nikki, her son, because she has work. Is this when Sean goes out of town?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Sean, Emily's husband, is in London?
Yeah, I think.
Like he has to go to London?
Yes. So his mom broke her fucking hip, and she's
Quite annoyed.
Yeah, so Emily's so annoyed that Sean's mother broke her hip.
Not even concerned, just annoyed.
Yeah, it's not even just broke her hip, like sad face.
Yeah.
It's more intense than that. So yes, so Sean's in London and she needs someone to pick up Nikki from school.
Yeah.
Because she's sick at work, and of course Stephanie's like, absolutely, super mom to the rescue.
Super mom, help my best friend. Let's do this.
Yeah. So she is picking up the kids from school and she is back at the house. Stephanie's house is definitely a lot different looking on the inside than good old Emily's.
Yes.
She is texting Emily while they're having dinner and she's not getting any response from her. So super frustrating, and she decides to give her a call, and Emily has a pretty iconic voice message. She said, "This is Emily, blah, 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 where I work. Leave a message or go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
I would love
so positive.
So positive. I love it.
Much.
I'm going to make that my voicemail.
Please do it.
Everyone would be so proud.
See, like, oh, I'm just going to call you Emily.
And then you have Stephanie leaving the message, and she's like, "Go give him heck, girl."
I will say, I'm definitely more hurt. I try to just be like that positive, like, keep you going. Let's keep the energy going. But then I'm also like, sometimes it's hard keeping that energy up. So I get it. So yeah, it's funny just to watch these little things.
So a little bit of time's going past, and we still have not heard anything from Emily.
Yeah, I think this is like 3 days.
Yeah, a couple days go by. They get the cops involved. Sean's back, and they're talking to the cops, kind of saying like the last whereabouts, who's talked to her last, all that fun stuff. So, so now at this point, Emily is missing. So, beginning of the film, we are told, Emily's been missing for a couple of days. So essentially, where we're at now is kind of in that spot. So now we're at the beginning of the film, and we're continuing on.
Where the plot really.
Sean ends up staying the night at Stephanie's house, and he makes her hangover smoothies in the morning made with lots of vegetables.
Yeah.
What a nice guy.
What a nice guy.
It's so funny because, Emily's giving, all the alcohol, and Sean's like, here's all these vegetables. Make yourself feel better. What a great couple. It's like yin and yang. They work perfect. So now Stephanie is going to Emily's work to go see if they've heard from her. And she's kind of dressed like Emily in the scene.
She tried, I think.
Yeah. So Stephanie now has, a bandana scarf around her neck.
Like scarf around.
I'm not very good with fashion, guys. So some of these names, I'm just like,
I'm really not.
So yeah, it's fine. She looks nice.
She did.
She's presenting herself a little bit more like Emily in the scene.
Correct. She can.
Yeah. So she works at this is advertising firm.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, like Dennis Nylon.
Yeah. So the Dennis Nylon is the name of the company / owner.
Yes.
And she's here to talk to them to see if they've heard from Emily. And she's talking to the receptionist. And as she's trying to speak to the receptionist just keeps going, Dennis Nylon, please hold. Dennis Nylon, please hold. Dennis Nylon, please hold. Thank you for holding. How can I direct your call? Literally, the scene goes on for what feels like 2 solid minutes. It's probably like 30 seconds.
Yeah, but it's so good.
Every time Stephanie tries to ask the question, the girl just says something else. And she goes, I don't know if you're talking to me or somebody else because you're looking right at me.
The whole thing is just so fantastic.
It really is.
And this scene, I think, really shows Anna Kendrick's acting and personality very well. Just like funny, but not too off the wall, but she's still trying.
It's like subtle humor, and she's trying to be poised, but it's still her character's like coming.
Correct. She's like, it's got to be like him, but oh my gosh, what's funny?
Case in point, she goes to sit down, and she goes to sit into, I guess, a little, no back to a bench chair type thing. So she sits down on it, and she goes to lean backwards to like rest herself up against the wall, but the chair is too far away from the wall. So she starts to fall back and kind of like catches herself. And then she scoots the chair all the way back to the wall and then poises herself up, confidently right up against the wall. Just then, Dennis Nylon comes walking through. Oh, it's a scarf. Yes. So he even calls out the scarf.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, what is that? Yeah. I said she looks good, high fashion. And this guy's like, the fuck are you wearing?
Her down, like, this is not good.
So she, he basically says, I've not heard from Emily. If Emily's going on vacation, we don't ask questions. We have no idea where she's at.
I think he said, because she said she was in Miami. She was told she was in Miami, but he said she's not in Miami for work. But then we just don't ask questions.
Yeah. So, another little plot to the mystery. So Stephanie kind of does something pretty cool. And she's like, you know what? I'm a crime scene investigator.
I like this.
And she ends up breaking into Emily's office, seeing past all the workers. And while she's in there, she discovers a file on the table. And it's a picture of herself. And it says, so it's a picture of Emily.
Yes.
And the picture itself has handwritten said, gotta have faith.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course,
I would say Emily's not looking too good in the photo.
No, yeah. Very good observation. Emily is not looking very good in the photo. It's
her best.
Kind of the opposite of what we've seen Emily looking like. So, much like Stephanie, we are very intrigued by this picture.
Yeah.
And of course, Stephanie steals it.
Yeah.
So while Stephanie's trying to leave, we run into the boss and he catches her and he's like, what are you doing?
Right.
Yeah. And she kind of flashes back to when Emily tells her, you gotta really stand your ground and
to the powerful ones.
Yep, to the powerful ones. And she does. She stands up for herself. She does.
It was like the first time that like Emily like stuck to her a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you silently cheer for her?
I did.
Yeah, kind of true.
For somebody like her, that's really hard. stand up for themselves.
Right. Yeah.
I think she did a great job.
So now we cut to a different scene, and Stephanie and Sean are putting flyers around town. The other mothers are watching her
And father.
Yeah. I just keep referring to him as a mother.
So be, but just
Yeah. So Darren is here too, and they're watching her, and they're like, I've never seen her pass up a chance to use a stapler before. Which I love that line because that's obviously very, very on track with her brand.
sure.
So now we have, what we're getting here is just a bunch of conversations between a private investigator, trying to figure out exactly what's going on. And Stephanie actually ends up overhearing a conversation that intrigues her. So Stephanie is upstairs in their house, and do you remember exactly what she hears in this scene?
I feel like this was basically like the Miami thing doesn't like go with it. Like that never happened, and that she rented a car. Am I correct?
Yeah, rented a car. They talk about in Michigan. Yep.
Yeah.
And they talk about different things that, stand out. So like she does have that tattoo that they had talked about earlier. So they want these different identifiers to make sure that they can, appropriately find her. And, he mentions that she is a very impulsive person. All right. So now we're in the scene where Stephanie is actually, making another vlog, and she's asking the people that are watching to send in any types of information that they might have.
Yes.
So one of the girls ends up saying that she thinks that she sees a white Kia flying down the highway in Michigan.
There's a pretty girl in it.
And there's
be around from here.
It's a pretty girl. Yeah. So she says there's a very pretty girl that obviously wasn't from there. So this was something that stuck out to her. So she wanted to make sure that she lets Stephanie know. So Stephanie took that information, passed it along, and Sean ends up receiving a phone call that did match.
Yes, that the car was found, correct? Yeah.
So now we understand that we unfortunately are being told from Stephanie in a different vlog and seeing intercut scenes of them discovering a dead body in the lake. And that body was Emily.
Yeah.
And
Sean's devastated.
Sean is obviously very devastated. Emily looks not pretty anymore.
Pretty.
Maybe a little bit more like the Michigan people that they were referring to. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that girl that literally had a problem with all the people that live in Michigan, apparently.
Nobody's in Michigan.
Which is funny because Paul Feig is actually from Michigan.
See, again.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Yeah, so he threw that little thing in there. So with that being said, I highly doubt that it was in the book written that way. He was just like, I'm gonna do a little dig at some Michigan people. We're at the funeral, and we get to see all of the lovely friends of Emily, and of course all the moms and the father are there. We can just say the moms and Darren. They're basically saying that she's talking to different people at the wake, and they're talking about the things they remember about Emily, and they're saying that Stephanie is such a good friend. I do want to say that I think, and this might be something that people won't agree with, the time frame of this movie, I feel like is pretty condensed. So she's missing for a couple of days.
Correct.
I feel like they only knew each other a couple of days prior to that.
Correct.
I feel like they became besties really fast.
Really fast. And to me, that's not even a bestie, in my opinion.
Yes.
But
yeah,
maybe because she
right.
wants to have a friend so bad, and somebody gave her attention. But I would agree. I feel like the time frame is very short.
Yeah. So they're always like, my bestie, my best friend. I miss my best friend. And I'm like, you just met your best friend.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like, how is this happening?
So now at the wake, we actually see Miles and Nikki, their kids, outside, and they're kind of having a confrontation. They're talking about mommy being in heaven.
I think it's one of those scenes too where I applaud them for doing it, because obviously I don't even know exactly how old they are.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever told us or what. Maybe they did, but that's got to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like to lose a parent that young, and then to try and get that concept in your head that she's not coming back. Like, I feel like this is in a typical boy fashion, like, I'm gonna fight you.
I'm gonna fight you.
Know what you're talking.
So Nikki pushes Miles down to the ground. They're yelling at each other, stop, I hate you, I'll stop it. So of course Stephanie and Sean see this and immediately run outside to stop the boys from fighting.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a very emotional thing going on, and the kid blames Stephanie for Emily dying.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want my mom. I really want my mom. And then calls his dad a loser. Says, you are a loser. She said that, mom used to say that about you all the time. And Sean's like, is that what your mom used to say at 2 a.m. in the morning while she was drunk off martinis?
Yeah.
Stephanie then tells, Sean to calm down because this is an emotional thing.
Yes.
She does like a little breathing exercise with the kids. I think Stephanie's definitely the person you want to have there to kind of calm you down, I guess.
And comfort you a little bit.
Very motherly.
He knows how to do the soft side, but also bring in a little bit of silly at the same time.
Yep. That's a good way to put it. Absolutely. Finally have the kids to bed, and Stephanie and Sean are in the bedroom. They're talking. And
speaking of her providing comfort.
Yes.
Where we are.
Stephanie has decided this moment that she wants everything to be very comfortable.
Yeah.
And her and Sean get very close. They begin to kiss. And then in typical Stephanie at a funeral fashion, she decides that having sex with Sean will be
the best thing.
The best. They end up having sex. And we get to the next morning, and you can tell that Stephanie is awkward, but at the same exact time, she seems kind of, okay, maybe all of this can be mine now.
Correct. She looks very intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
Very like, okay, this was her place, but maybe this could be mine.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And she even turned on the music.
Yeah.
Just like Emily did.
She did.
To kind of get the whole.
Yeah, and she didn't really dance around this time. She listened to that music. She's like, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
She sees that picture, that nude painting of Emily on the wall, and decides to take it right off the wall.
Yes.
She takes it up into Emily's huge walk-in closet. It's probably the size of our apartment. Super cool.
Yeah.
Lots of pretty dresses and shoes. There's, things in the center for trying. I don't know. Hashtag closet I'll never have.
Yeah, closet I'll never have. Called rich people.
Rich people closets. So again, getting into her kind of, wanting to get a part of this life, she tries on one of Emily's dresses, and someone is at the front door.
Yeah.
Stephanie is now stuck in Emily's dress and cannot get the zipper down in the back. So she goes to try to peek down the stairs to see who's at the door. And of course, it's the private detective, and he can see her. So she's like, "Oh shit, I'll be with you in 1 second." So of course she can't get it off. So she decides to go greet him, looking very much like Emily. And she, he doesn't really question her, but she's kind of like, "Well, I'm here because," she tries to make up all these excuses. And of course, she's super awkward about it.
It's so awkward.
Mr. Private Investigator has a couple more questions, and of course she's answering. She's not really hiding it. But do we get any new information in this scene?
He basically is like you're saying things, I'm not necessarily saying them to you, but then he's like, he could tell she's uncomfortable. So he would like, is this like not your first time being around like law enforcement?
Mm-hmm.
And I think she says like, no, but in a flashback, she's seen the police show up to her door. And then I think she cries in the scene. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so
that's where we're at.
Yeah, so the cop's talking to her, and he's like, "Have you ever dealt with law enforcement before?" Because you seem like they're doing a really good job at it. We do get the flashback of her receiving the news about her husband and her brother dying in the car accident, and she has dropped to her knees, super sad.
Yes.
The detective then tells her that they're performing an autopsy, but what they've found so far is a bunch of track marks and a lot of heroin in her body.
Yeah.
So this kind of catches Stephanie off guard, and she's like, she likes a good martini, but
she didn't know anything about that.
Yeah,
which would never. I believe.
Yeah, 100%. And so she's like, I don't see her doing those things. And he's like, these people are hiding things. These are drug addicts, whatever. So we learn all this information. So Stephanie's like, this is very suspicious. It's kind of weird. Why did I not ever know this about my best friend I've known for like 10 days? I know everything about her life.
I've known it all. Let me tell you. My gosh. I think she gets so uncomfortable to where she now feels like he is questioning Stephanie. Yes. That's where she's feeling, I think. Where she's like, why are you getting at me like this? Like, I didn't know anything about any of this, which I do believe is true. But then I think that opened up Stephanie's mind to like, there's definitely way more to Emily than I would ever imagine.
Well, sure. No, that's a good observation. I definitely think that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, she kind of goes through the house a little bit. She ends up cutting the dress off with some scissors. She sees all their past due bills for all the bills they're not paying. And now we are at dinner time, and they're having some Caesar salad. They're like playing house here.
Yeah.
Like it feels like this is a family meal.
Yes.
And then Nikki Nikki makes an observation and says, I saw mom.
Yes.
This kind of catches everyone off guard. And Sean tells him, sometimes we imagine things, especially when we're grieving. And Nikki's like, no, I saw mom.
I saw her. Question.
Yeah, she was right outside of the fence by the kickball area at recess time. And Sean's like, okay, well, sometimes people look like other people. And Nikki's like, nobody looks like mom. She told me to say hi to Stephanie.
Yeah, creepy though.
Right?
Oh my gosh, say hi to Steph.
And that's one of the things I like about this too, is because, if you're unfamiliar with the story, which, again, I went into it pretty blind. I'm like, okay, are we getting into ghost territory here?
Yeah, you're like,
is this ghost
really dead? Or
I think this movie does a really good job. Even if you're kind of figuring out, what unfolds.
Yes.
They do a really good job of kind of switching gears and making you possibly think something else.
Correct.
So I'm like, okay, now we got Blake Lively as a ghost.
Yeah, you're like, it should be pretty though.
Yeah, right. Wow, pretty ghost. And then Nikki even asked Miles. He's like, you saw her too. And Miles is like, I think I did.
It's not in his
He didn't think give a shit.
just playing on the playground.
So Stephanie's like, are you guys in this together? This isn't something to joke about. Why are you guys doing this? Nikki goes, I'm not lying. I saw her. Fuck you.
It's one of those scenes where I'm just like,
It's going to be real full.
It's going to be full in 2 seconds with that now.
But I do like that, they obviously react to him saying it, but at the same exact time,
You're going to have to let him feel something for a second. You can't punish them that quick.
Yeah. Because
in a scenario like that.
Yeah. He doesn't fully understand the capacity. His mom's gone and that's all he knows.
Yes. Then they go to bed.
And Stephanie goes to check on him. And what does Stephanie see?
She finds the friendship bracelet that she had made her during one of her vlogs. And it was on Nikki's bed.
Yeah.
She also, I think, got paranoid and was like, I smell her. On Nikki kind of thing.
Yeah, she tells.
She would know that smell because she wants to smell like her.
Yeah.
If you remember.
Look at that. Look at those. Yeah. So yeah, that's actually really good, perfect dialogue that is used later. She loves that smell. So she's like, I smell her, and Sean's like, we all have the ghosts that we're following, and it's something that you miss. It talks about the ring that Stephanie had, that the body had the ring on it, that that he wanted to get the ring back.
Yeah, because wasn't Stephanie told the ring was her or Emily's mother, or I'm sorry, Sean's mother's.
Yes.
That was passed down to her. But then he corrects Stephanie and goes, no, she stole the ring.
Yeah, so we get a little flashback scene, and he's talking about how his mother was frantic because she couldn't find that ring and has been with the family forever. While they're on the plane going back, Sean and Emily, they're on the plane and they're talking, and she goes, oh, look what I found. And she's wearing the ring. Yeah. He's like, we need to tell my mom. My mom's going to be so relieved. And she's like, no, we can't tell her. She's going to assume that I just took it. And he's kind of like, well, you did. And she's like, well, we don't need to tell him. And then she invites him to the bathroom make him forget about it. Yeah. They join the Mile High Club, and then that's when she gets pregnant.
Yes.
So
that's when she gets
pregnant in an airplane bathroom.
Woo! Let me tell you.
Maybe Nikki will grow up to be a flight attendant.
Back to the roots.
So Sean uses this information to kind of let her know, Emily is a very secretive person. She's also manipulative, and he obviously loves her. We've noticed that. But, he kind of tells her she does lie. She does scheme things to get away with everything's. Okay.
Maybe you need more coffee. I don't
know. While they're having a conversation, she brings up the threesome. And Sean's like, what are you talking about? There's never been a threesome. And she's like, Emily told me all about your little moment. And this is when he's like, you have to understand that Stephanie is a pathological liar. Yeah. She'll say anything to get people excited. So Stephanie is now moving into the house.
Yeah, which I thought was so quick.
Right. It's so fast.
Again, if you're going to hook up and that's going to make you happy to deal with the death of your wife, okay. But already to move her in,
crazy.
That seems like a huge step. And Stephanie seems very excited about it.
She does seem very excited about it.
When she's cleaning out the closet.
Yeah, so now she is cleaning out this closet. She is taking everything off the hooks, the racks, the shelving. She's putting new posters up, putting different artwork. Yeah, and she's so excited, and she's we see a couple different cut montages of her getting everything set up, including grabbing her own clothes from the U-Haul, dances up the stairs, super excited. And as she turns to go into the closet, she drops all of her clothes and gasps. And we as an audience have no idea what she's gasping at until we are introduced to it, which is all of the clothes that she had taken away are all back in their original spot.
Back in the original spot.
Dun, dun, dun.
I would say Anna played that part really well. Like she, like scared she was or nervous about whatever happened. You could literally see, like, that would freak me out. Like, oh, I just took all this away.
Yep.
How is it back in here?
Yeah, it's all back perfect, just the way that it was before.
Yeah.
Cut to another scene. We have Stephanie driving the boys, and while she's in the car, Nikki has something to tell her.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what Nikki tells her?
I know he gives her an envelope.
Yep. He says, my mom wanted me to give this to you.
Yes, my mom wanted me, but I don't remember yes, I do remember what's in this. So she gets panicked, and then when they get back to the house, she opens it, and the family photo of Stephanie, what is it, of Stephanie, her brother, her husband, and Miles? Is it right?
Yep. So it is a family picture.
Yeah.
Again, like Chelsea said, it is her brother and husband and Miles, and the picture is circled with a connection between Stephanie and her brother, and really big with permanent marker, it says brother fucker.
So good. With a heart.
With a heart. I think, oh, her brother. Again,
it's not a funny situation because it's so gross, but it's so funny in this. Yes. I can't handle it.
Like the heart just adds like an extra thing to it.
It's the best.
Stephanie is completely shocked, and now she's like, okay, obviously Emily is still alive. She's fucking with me, whatever. The telephone rings and she answers it. She thinks it's going to be somebody else. So she answers to greet them, and she gets something really exciting on the other line.
Yes.
And it's Emily. Emily says, hi, brother fucker. Anna's face in the scene, you can just kind of tell that she's like, this is real. So we're not dealing with a ghost. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to wonder if Emily's still alive. And now I'm getting this phone call, and Emily is still alive.
Yes.
Stephanie runs and tells Sean that she goes to the school that he works at. Mm-hmm. Lets him know that Emily's still alive, and a phone call from her.
Yes.
And she tells him this, and Sean is like, there's no way that this is happening. Like, you're missing this. And we get some flashback scenes to the girls chatting again, getting to know one another. And we kind of see the story unfold between her husband and her brother.
Yes.
And a big reveal here that is not 100% clear.
Correct.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I do know what you're talking about.
Let them know. Let the people know.
Her husband at, I think it was Miles' birthday party.
Yep.
He confronts her and basically is like, am I even Miles' dad? Because the connection between you and your brother, which I cannot think of his name. I cannot think of it.
I forget his name.
It's fine. He was like, basically, I see the connection and I'm just not figuring like this. He cannot be mine kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he's upset, husband. Yep. And so upset that he takes her brother out for a little car ride. They're just going to have a little chat, a little drive, and then they're going to be home.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not home.
They're not home.
They get in an accident.
So do you think, obviously the major question is, do we actually think that it's their kid or is it her and her brother's? There's not really a way to kind of piece that together. But the other mystery of the whole scene is, do you think...
in love with her brother.
Oh, for sure. Do you think the husband intentionally drove the car?
I would say yes.
I think so too.
I think so.
It's never completely spelled out for us, but
it just doesn't seem, because he was like, we're literally just gonna go for a ride. That's what the brother said. But the husband's face when they were like pulling out of the car was like, this is it.
Yep.
Sorry. Maybe he didn't intend to kill himself when he did this, but he had every intention of.
What a messy, sad,
all of it.
Messed up situation for sure.
Sorry, Stephanie.
Do you know who plays her brother?
He looks so familiar. He's in, I cannot think of his name, but he's in Schitt's Creek. Mm-hmm. I cannot think of his name.
So is Dustin Milligan, and he plays Ted.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
So obviously I saw this movie before Schitt's Creek and love Schitt's Creek, obviously.
So good.
But I didn't realize he was in this movie until our recent rewatch of it.
Okay.
And I was like, oh shit, that's Ted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's
It was like the first thing I recognized.
yeah.
I was like, oh wait, I thought it was him, but I know he's in shit.
I know that man.
Yep, sure do.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yep, so big revelation here. And while we're getting this conversation, the story being told to us through a flashback while the girls are drinking in this moment, which I've kind of noticed that Stephanie becomes so vulnerable during these scenarios that she turns to intimacy.
Correct.
And she leans in and kisses Emily.
Yes.
And they kind of have a quasi-passionate kiss, you know.
Passionate thing.
Yeah, a kissing back. I think this film plays, Zach and I actually talked about this. I think I read a couple of articles about it, and because I was trying to see if in my mind I was reading it correctly. But I do feel that there's definitely some queer undertones with Emily. I think same with Stephanie. I don't think they love each other in like a romantic way, but I think that their love kind of transcends just friendship.
Correct.
Emily also kind of dances the lines of I love you, do I just want to be you? So there's a lot of those types of undertones here.
I would agree with that statement, and especially what will be coming up on of everything.
Yeah. Right now we're trying to get some more information, and Stephanie, while she is at the house and seeing the painting, the nude painting of Emily, she notices that the bottom of the picture frame is slightly torn off and notices a signature at the bottom of the picture.
Yes.
So she, in true detective style, hunts this person down, discovers that this person lives somewhere in New York City, and goes to pay her a little visit.
Yeah.
So her name is Diana, and she's played by Linda Cardellini, which I'm a big Linda Cardellini fan.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Freaks and Geeks, the TV show?
No, I did not.
Okay, so Paul Feig actually created that show.
Paul.
Yeah, so Linda Cardellini is obviously one of the main characters on the show, and I've always loved her character. Freaks and Geeks is very underrated. If no one has seen it that's listening to this, go watch it. Yeah, so it was kind of nice to see Linda Cardellini kind of pop up in here too, because I had no idea.
Sure.
So while she's at the studio, we meet Diana, and Diana is talking about how she had a relationship with...
Well, she had a relationship with Claudia. Even though, well, because Stephanie comes in with the picture saying this is Emily, she's dead. She's like, I don't know who Emily is. I know Claudia, and that's Claudia in the photo. So that's what we know. So right there, who is Emily?
Yep, who is Emily? Who is Claudia?
Who is Claudia?
What is happening?
What name.
So we're learning all about Claudia, the person in the picture who we have known as Emily.
Yeah.
And she's talking about how they had this great relationship, and Claudia was everything that she's ever wanted in a partner. And they kind of had a romantic relationship for a very short period of time.
Yes.
And, she talks about how she
was never allowed to paint her face other than that one nude photo.
Yep.
That is this major scene.
So in the nude photo, you can see her face in it. It's still not distinctly 100% face on, kind of break it down. But it's interesting that we're keeping up with the I don't want my picture being out there or anything. So was there any other great big revelations here?
Yes. So she basically was like, I just need a little bit more information. And she kept this shirt there that Claudia would wear. And it was from Squaw Lake in Michigan.
Squaw Lake in Michigan. With having the shirt in her possession, she decides to, continue her PI investigating. And she heads to Michigan to go check this out. And she arrives at the camp, and she meets some people who tell her all about the yearbook that they have.
Yeah.
So
it's pretending she's going to have her son try and join this camp.
And the two camp counselors that are showing her around are like very excited.
Very excited. Very bubbly.
Very bubbly.
Energy.
Yeah, so I actually reached out to one of the actors who played camp counselor. His name is Paul Jurewicz. He was actually nice enough to get back to me and let me know that he was willing to share an audio message about his experience filming A Simple Favor. So I definitely wanted to share that with you guys. I think it's really cool when actors take time out of their day to share these types of things. I obviously am very appreciative of it. And let's see what Paul has to say.
So, doing A Simple Favor, my little bit in it, was a pretty surreal experience. I had moved from Chicago to LA probably a month prior to auditioning. I think it was like my third audition in LA. And it was for Allison Jones, who's an incredible casting director. She did, The Office and a bunch of other stuff. I had shot a show called Love, was, I think, the first thing I auditioned for in LA and actually got. So I had shot that already. That was a pretty quick turnaround. And then I got this audition, and I'm bad at reading. So I didn't read the audition, and I just showed up to do it. And I walked in the room, and Paul Feig was there. And I was like, holy shit, I probably should have known he was going to be here. But I think it helped me because, I wasn't nervous or anything. So when I got it, I was pretty surprised because I knew there was, a lot of big names in it. And then I remembered I'd heard that it was going to be shooting in Toronto. And I remembered when we drove to LA from Chicago, we tried to go to Lake Louise in Canada, and we were denied, me and my girlfriend at the time, now wife. We were denied access because I had been arrested for marijuana like 8 years earlier. And apparently they can reject you from entering the country. We also had a car full of everything we owned, so I think they thought we were trying to skip town or there was something else going on. But anyways, suddenly I was terrified that I was going to get to the airport in Toronto to shoot this movie, and they weren't going to let me in the country. So I begrudgingly told my reps the situation, assuming that the producers were just going to be like, well, we'll just find somebody else. But to their credit, they actually reached out to me and contacted, I don't know, whoever in Canada they had to talk to, and got a bunch of paperwork together. And they flew me out a week earlier than my actually shooting date. So that in case for some reason Canada didn't let me into the country, they would have time to replace me. Fortunately, I landed and then hung out in Toronto for a week. The actual shooting day was pretty crazy because it was, shot at that camp, and they were getting ready to have a bunch of helicopters flying over. It was the biggest production I had been in, obviously, up to that point. So I was somewhat nervous. I think the first take, I flubbed the line, and I just felt super embarrassed. But then we started improvising, and it was super chill. And there was a scene that got cut where I actually catch Anna Kendrick finding those letters in the basement. It's been a while since I've seen it. But that's a pretty cool scene. What else can I say? Anna was very sweet. Yeah, I think that about wraps it up. I remember riding in a golf cart at one point to take me to set. And Paul Feig was super sweet, super nice guy, and dressed to the hilt. I think he was wearing like a powder blue suit and carrying a cane. He is very stylish. But yeah, it was a super fun thing to get to do. And the best part was when it came out, I got to take my mom to the movie theater and watch it on the big screen together, which was a great moment for me. So, yeah, cool movie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, super cool stuff. I obviously really appreciate when actors take the time to do that. So, of course, I wanted to share that with you guys. So, thank you so much, Paul, for taking time out of your day to do that. I think that's pretty awesome. So, it's a smaller role, but it's definitely a memorable role. I think the two camp counselors are hilarious, and as we just mentioned, they're very bubbly. So I love that. So thanks again, Paul.
So she comes to the yearbook and sees she's trying to find Emily,
Yeah.
and she stumbles across a picture of twins as the fastest canoeing duo, Hope and Faith McLandon.
Yeah.
So these girls, kind of look a little bit like, I was gonna say Blake Lively, but kind of look a little bit like Emily. And she's like, this is interesting.
Yeah.
So she ends up getting the name of their mother, which is Margaret McLandon.
Yeah.
So she decides to, again, continue.
Just
Uh,
keep going.
She gets Margaret McLandon, everyone's name in the phone book. She starts calling everyone, trying to figure it out. And she finally discovers the place where the actual Margaret McLandon actually is, that's going to be able to help her out.
Yeah.
So she arrives to this place. She pretends to be a cleaning person.
I love it so much. She like walks up and like, not that they're fancy heels or whatever they are, wedges, but I'm like, no one comes to a house.
No, no. Yeah, she has like a bandana, red bandana in her hair. She has a couple of cleaning supplies with her.
You're not cleaning.
She's sneaking right up to the house, and good old Margaret McLandon answers the door, and she was like, "Who? Who are you?" She's like, "Well, didn't Bruce tell you that I'm here to clean?" And Margaret's like, "Whatever," and closes the door. So Stephanie's like,
Yeah,
"I didn't
not
work."
gonna work.
And then just in that moment, we're like, because the door opens back up and Margaret lets her in.
Mm-hmm.
So Stephanie's out cleaning her house, but at the same exact time, she's using this to walk around the house, try to get some more information.
Yes.
She sees pictures of the twin girls, and she decides to head downstairs, and she starts having a conversation with Margaret. Margaret, again, is played by Jean Smart.
So good.
Random little cameo.
Yeah.
She's so funny. She's the perfect mom for Blake Lively's character.
Correct. Two very strong, powerful actresses,
Yes.
and they just did it well.
Yep. And Margaret asks Stephanie if she's a mother.
Yes.
And because she starts asking her questions about her twins.
Yes.
And she was like, Margaret's like, were you a mother? She says that child came straight from hell.
Yeah.
She's like, well, that's a very strong statement for a mother. And then, she says, are you a mother? And she says, yes, I love every minute of it. Margaret literally laughs. And she says, you must have brain damage.
So funny. Motherhood is hard, let me tell you.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. Like, Chelsea, with you watching this, this movie relies very heavily on motherhood, womanhood, all that fun stuff.
Sure.
So, I think you kind of see, you obviously love being a mother, you love your kids,
Yeah.
of course. But I'm sure there are days where
There are some days you're like, oh my gosh, I need a beverage.
Yes.
I need that.
I need that gin martini. Emily, snap.
Let's go. 10 p.m. Let's do this. Some days you need it, but
Yeah.
they are the best. But it's funny. Some days you do get very frustrated, but
Yeah.
you wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah.
But so I get it. Both sides.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. So Margaret then makes a statement that she says you don't need a parent, they need an exorcist. All right, so we get a little bit more information here. Do you know what information that is?
From my notes, I think I heard that like the mom mentions that Faith was in rehab. Faith is in the picture and she says Hope was a liar.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I know.
Yep.
I think if I wrote my notes down correctly. This scene was one that I had to kind of rewatch.
Sure.
Just to make sure I was getting the right names written down because their banter's quick.
Yes.
And it doesn't stay on topic because clearly Margaret is not in the right state of mind to be having this conversation.
For sure. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of information in this movie, especially in the latter half of it.
Yeah.
So it's a little tough to break it down unless you're really
paying attention. And
of course, you got to kind of put all the pieces together. So you're being fed the information, but it's kind of putting it all together. It's a little rough sometimes.
Correct.
So she is talking about, like you mentioned, that the picture that Stephanie has is definitely of Faith.
Mm-hmm.
And Margaret's like, wait, are you the police? I have told you people 1,000 times my memory's not good anymore and will not stand up in courts. The night of that fire, my husband and I were estranged. We lived in separate wings of the house. The fire that burned down the west wing.
Mm-hmm.
Then she says, wait, are you an insurance agent?
Yeah. Yes.
She says,
Really, I am. Cute.
she's like, okay, good. Not the police.
Barbie.
Yeah,
It's different.
Just then the husband comes home and he's like, "Who's that?" So Stephanie freaks out, runs to her car immediately. We start to realize that he is following her, and he meets her at the gate with a big old shotgun.
Yes.
She is nervous as hell as he approaches her car. He looks so angry. So he taps on the window with his gun, and she opens up the window very nervously. He says, "Where do you think you're going?" She's like, "Huh?" He goes, "I wanted to order the Navy Blazer, extra large." She's like, "Great." Yeah. Of course, he lets her out. So Stephanie heads to the library to kind of get more of these pieces of information put together. And this is going to reveal to us about a fire that happened.
Yes.
She finds a old school newspaper article research computer
Yes, and I
thing.
love this.
Me too.
Love it so much.
Yeah, very.
No idea how to use it.
Oh, me either.
No.
Very old school, like 80.
Probably not older.
Not older, yes.
Remember these when we were in.
That's true. I don't either.
Yeah, no.
So very old,
Yeah.
very old thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not on the internet. So she sees a headline in a newspaper, the Cherry Creek Observer, and the headline is "Teen Twins Vanish After Deadly House Fire." So Stephanie decides to continue her vlog, but doing an on the road edition.
Yes.
So
Love this.
yeah, so she's recording from different areas, and during her traveling, and she's letting everyone know about the information that she's discovered. And she's talking about how Emily is still alive, and then she says a couple really, really smart things. So she talks about going to the Squaw Lake Bible camp, that she went through a bunch of journals and found a photo of Emily, whose middle name is Claudia, talked about being crazy. And just in this moment, we're getting we're cutting to Emily sitting in a bed in a motel room,
Yes.
looking very disheveled, watching this live vlog happening. And she's like, "You crazy fucking bitch." So
Oh, you could be it.
yeah, you might be it. So she shows a picture of the girls when they were younger, and she's like, "Look at this little angel." And meanwhile, Emily's like, "Brother, fucker."
Just the best.
And she, Stephanie says, "This gave me the closure that I needed. I feel closer to Emily than I have ever felt before. Almost like a twin." Emily, wherever you are, I hope that you're listening, because all you gotta have is a little faith. So good.
Sir.
Yep.
Gets her right there.
This pisses Emily off.
That's what I'm on to you.
Yep. Emily slams her laptop shut and then, of course, says "brother fucker" again.
Yeah.
This movie should have just been called "Brother Fucker."
It really should have been. I think I agree with that statement.
One of my favorite little parts too. I feel like, I don't know if it's improvised, but I feel like it probably was. So we see Emily slam the laptop down, and then we see Stephanie, right as she goes to slam her own laptop down, throws both her middle fingers up.
I
Yep.
got this.
So she solved this pretty much.
Yeah, she's like, I know it.
So now we are in the very final act of the movie, and we now cut to Stephanie in her car doing a hardcore rap song, which is so out of Stephanie's element. And she is rapping along to every single word. She arrives at home, and she is so excited to see the kids. And when she arrives, she starts to head up the stairs. Sean's kind of looking at her like, he's kind of mysterious in the scene. Like something's
different about her. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
We get a phone call, Stephanie is making a phone call, and she's looking up an insurance claim from the fire. And she's kind of getting a little bit of research on it, pretending to be an insurance agent. And she's trying to learn about the teen daughters, Hope and Faith, who did disappear. And we also cut to Sean, who is at lunch. While he's at lunch speaking on the phone, lo and behold, Emily arrives.
Upstairs.
She looks good. She's kind of incognito a bit, with kind of bigger clothes on, but still makes it very fashionable.
Very fashionable. I would just look like a big old front.
They'd be like, "What a sleuthing towards me right now." Get these homeless people out of here. So Emily sits down. She removes her sunglasses, and she's like, "It's me. You're not alone." And he was like, "I grieved you." So, because at first I'm like, okay, Sean has something to do with this. This is weird.
I kind of had that feeling at first.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but then with this dialogue, he's like, "I grieved you," and there's no reason for him to have there's no reason for you to be saying this because there's nobody listening.
Right. Like it's literally,
it's the two of them. Yeah. So we as an audience are the only one observing this.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, so Sean is, completely innocent in the situation. He's like, "I don't understand." And then Emily shows him that she has a gun on her. She clicks the gun into place. She sets the bullet in the barrel, and then she goes to pull the trigger underneath the table at him. and obviously makes the really loud sound. But of course, there's no bullet.
Nervous.
There's no bullet in it.
And she just chuckles.
She chuckles. She's like, "Oops, forgot to load it."
Forgot to load the gun.
She then calls out the fact that he immediately ran to Stephanie and had sex, and she's already moved in,
Yeah.
and says how absolutely ridiculous it is. She gives him a kiss and then heads out.
Mm-hmm.
Sean's back at home. He is with Stephanie, and they now are getting more information about all of the insurance stuff that was happening with the fire. The insurance agent is speaking with them, talking about the twin, and Sean had no idea that there was a twin.
Correct.
I love Anna Kendrick in this scene. She's so like, I just solved this shit.
Just solved it.
And
so fake, right?
yeah.
I love it.
So this is her putting the final nail in the coffin, getting every last little tiny detail out of the way. They're basically like, the insurance agent's like, I'll let you know about the rest of the information I find.
Yeah.
Thanks for the coffee. She heads out.
Is this also about the $4 million?
Yep.
Not yet.
No, yeah. Yep. So there was a $4 million, I guess you,
Insurance policy taken out right before she went missing.
Mhm. Correct. Yep. So $4 million insurance policy was taken out. So they're getting all the information on that as well. And we are actually at the cemetery now. Stephanie is visiting Emily's grave, and Emily now is standing right next to her.
Like, this is just, I don't even know how to describe this scene. It just makes me happy, kind of.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I love that Stephanie figures this out.
Mhm.
I love that she's like, I'm going to stand my ground. I'm not going to say sorry. Like, I figured it out.
Mhm.
And then Emily just shows up, but nobody else knows she's alive.
Yeah.
Nobody else is at the grave.
No.
So she went on this vlog to tell everyone I'm going to be at the grave, but nobody's there.
Nobody's there. Yeah, she's like, we're sitting at the grave, standing over my dead body. She's like, well, nice big twist. I taught you well, because now Stephanie has made a martini, and it's kind of a play on words. Great big twist. Love that. And she says the student becomes the master. Okay, so here we're also learning Stephanie is letting Emily know that she's figured everything out and exactly what that stuff is. So as they're speaking and drinking their martinis, of course, they get very confessional, which we love. She said, first tell me why you killed your father and sister.
Yes.
And she says, okay, you want to tell me who your son's real father is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right there.
And then Stephanie says, hold all the cards here. Power move.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that power move?
I want to know about your twin, Faith. And she says, they're like, what are you, therapist? Faith, Hope, and Charity. Charity was a stillborn. So they weren't
Twin.
Yeah. So it wasn't a twin. They were actually triplets.
Yeah.
So Charity is the one who ended up passing stillborn, correct?
Mhm.
So they got tattoos, matching tattoos of the Charity symbol. Again, I have no idea what the hell that is.
Right. To laugh at something serious.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm sorry, guys. I just don't know the Charity symbol,
Yeah.
but we're glad that they have it.
mm-hmm.
So we kind of get a little flashback of the girls, and it's Hope and Faith, and they decide to set fire to the west wing of the house.
Yeah.
And
Because their dad was like abusive
Mhm.
and just not a good home and all, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. I feel like.
yeah, so, they were causing a ruckus, and because the father was the way he was, they set fire to the house. They would also get a lot of insurance money from this as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the cops, they decided to run from the situation and kind of disappear because the cops were looking for two blonde arson twins.
Yes.
And this is when we first see with this flashback of someone trying to take a picture of them. And she's like,
Yeah.
and like knocks the
It
camera.
all began.
That's where it all began.
Yeah.
So she had a twin. They decide to leave. They got tattoos, matching tattoos together, and they kind of just go their separate ways.
Yeah.
And Faith ended up going down a route in life, and she ended up becoming a drug addict.
Yes. Sadly.
Yes. So Emily talks about how Faith chose a whole different life,
Mm-hmm.
and that she didn't want to look at her anymore or be in her life. So she does eventually go to visit her, and while she's visiting her, Faith asks for a bunch of money, and she's like, "What, you gonna spend this money on drugs?"
Mm-hmm.
So they're at the camp,
Yes.
correct?
Squall Lake. Yeah.
Squall Lake, and they're kind of letting each other know what's going on in one another's lives, and they decide to go take a swim. Faith runs out into the lake. She takes all of her clothes off, jumps in, very free spirited. So Emily's like, well, I'll get in the lake with you. They have more conversations. And just then, what happens?
Emily decides to drown her sister because her sister threatened to go to the cops.
Yes. So her sister threatens her and says that maybe it's time to turn themselves in. And Emily's like, we cannot let this happen, whatever. So while they're in the lake, Emily decides to drown her
It
sister.
takes the ring off and puts it on her.
Yep. So Emily takes the ring off, puts it right on Faith, and leaves her body in the lake. But she's like, oh, I'm so glad that you thought I did such a good job. You actually thought it was me. I fooled everyone.
Yeah.
So she killed her poor twin.
So sad.
It's sad. And then Emily does her own power move and says, like, you became popular because of me. This story gave you popularity. It was your vlog. And she's like, it's a little $4 million. What's the big deal?
It's penny.
So Stephanie's like, well, what happens now? Because, I mean, honestly, like, what does
You're like, what happens? Like, you're alive. And...
Right. So now, so the whole world thinks you're dead and now you're alive.
Right.
How do you think you're going to get away with any of this insurance stuff? And because you're here now.
Right.
She's like, I just want my kid back. You fucked up my insurance plan. I want my kid back. The authorities won't back down. You can have Sean. I don't want him. He's trash. Stephanie's like, I don't want Sean. So obviously poor Sean's not getting swept.
Me though too, that she's like, I just want my kid. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand that. As a mom, I don't think I could let myself get to that point to be like, oh, I'm going to pretend I'm dead. Have my kid. Watch me be buried. And then just be like, oh, I just want my kid.
Surprise.
What?
Let me see you.
That's creepy. Yeah. Talk about like therapy.
Yeah, especially because he kept saying like he would see her, but then everyone around him was like, it's okay. Like you see ghosts, you're grieving.
She's here.
Yeah, like there are people that look like her.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to Stephanie. Now she wakes up in the middle of the night next to Sean and she heads over to his laptop and logs into his college email and decides to send an email. The next day, Sean arrives at the university and there are a bunch of cops going through his office. The TA is there and she says, they've gone through your stuff and they have a warrant out for your arrest. And he's like, I don't understand what's happening. I will comply with anything you need to. The cops let him know there's an open investigation. And we cut back to the house and the cops are now raiding his house as well. He arrives home and talks to the private detective that has been with them through this whole investigation. He's talking about how Emily is still alive and the cops like, well, why didn't you notify us? Why did this not happen? They're kind of pointing fingers at Sean.
Correct.
Whatever was in the subject of that email.
Correct. Whatever was set up on him.
Yeah. So Sean's pissed and he was like, this is not correct. Something's wrong here. So he decides to go visit Stephanie. Goes to Stephanie's house and Stephanie's like, you can't come in here.
Which again, I was still confused. I think this is why some of my stuff, I rated it the 7.5, was because like now she's back at her old house.
Mm-hmm.
But earlier it was for sale. So I'm like, wait, now you're back in it? Did it never sell?
Yeah.
Little things like that. Where, and then again, there's something else later that I'll mention, but continue.
No, yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, I feel like this whole movie just has like a weird time frame.
I feel like it was rushed in a lot of scenarios.
Yeah.
Like, not the story itself, just their little story within the story.
Yeah. Like you could have made this story like a year or two long.
Correct. Yeah.
Where it takes
Yeah.
place.
Be like, oh, a year later.
So he comes over to get his kid and she's like, you have to go. He's like, what are you talking about? She's like, there's an ongoing investigation, John. And she's like, I can't let you into the house. We have to wait till this is solved. And she's like, this has nothing to do with Emily. He's like, it has everything to do with her. She's gaslighting you. He's like, you don't understand how powerful she is. But the funny thing to us as an audience, or at least in my opinion, is that we don't understand how powerful Stephanie is now. Stephanie has all that information. She has, every time we've seen her little inserts from her vlog, her viewership has gone up tremendously.
Yes. Which was fun to go back and watch.
Yeah.
Like see those little, like you said, you have to watch it like 3 times in a different way. So paid attention to different things as it went.
I love that. We now cut to Emily and she's outside of the motel room and she has a big old wrench in her hand.
This is ballsy.
Very ballsy. This reminds me, this is very Gone Girl. I love it. So she throws the tool up in the air. She puts on some pearls around her neck. And as the tool's coming down, it hits her right in the face.
Right in the face.
We immediately cut to her walking into the police station with a completely battered, bloody eye.
Blood all over.
Blood all over. But still makes it look fashionable.
I know. Somehow she looked.
Damn you, Blake Lively.
Yeah.
She lets the cops know that Sean has, has beat her up. He's very abusive.
Yeah.
So now all of this stuff is all over the news. The whole world knows that Emily is alive now. They go on to talk about the twin sister and all of those things and how Sean is an abusive novelist and English professor who forced her to stage her own death. There was a $4 million insurance policy that was taken out for him. So this was all, they pinned all this on Sean. He was the mastermind behind all of this. And we as the audience were like,
Yeah, like, which I do feel bad because I'm like, he's so innocent.
Yeah.
I feel like at first I thought he was part of it.
Yeah.
But then when I realized he was, I was like, don't do that to him.
I will say this movie does a really good job of like, it's twisty and it makes, like, for the most part, it makes sense.
Correct.
And they kind of steer you in different directions throughout, which
Like,
I kind of like.
my favorite part of the whole movie.
Oh, it's
This whole
so good.
Yeah.
So we've arrived at the very end of the film.
Yeah.
Sean comes home. He walks in, and Emily greets him coming down the steps with a martini, wearing a really nice.
She looks like she's like from like what, like the 40s or
Yeah.
whatever type
Yes.
style.
Oh, absolutely. Like a Leave It to Beaver, June Cleaver.
Yes, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, here's your martini. Wipe
Yeah.
it home."
Right. But she's playing so innocent here. I love it. Like she's not like, for lack of better terms, acting like her bitchy self.
Right. She kind of got a little giggle, a little happiness, a little pep in her step.
Twirling around. And she hands him the martini that she made, and then he tosses it out into the flower pot. And she's like, I'm not going to poison you. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
So she, of course, is making her own martini while they're talking. And, she kind of shows him like, hey, this is where we're at now in life. We're also cutting to Stephanie, who I guess it looks like she's moving back into her house.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when she was at the house before, she didn't have all of her stuff in there.
Right.
But she's doing a vlog entry, and she's letting them know that Emily wasn't who she always said that she was. She's like, I love you guys. Please forgive me in advance of what I'm about to do.
Mm-hmm.
And as she's doing that, we also see her pull a gun out of her little purse that she has. So she heads over to the house where she sees Stephanie and Sean. And Sean's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I live here, remember? And then she pulls a gun on him.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think in this moment?
I was honestly very confused.
Yes.
I was like, what just happened? Because I'm like, I was curious of how Stephanie got so angry at Sean. Because I was like, but she knows Sean didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
So I don't know. This whole scene, I had to rewatch the scene a couple times to make sure I was following what was going on.
Yeah. And I think it's the narrative of the story. It's constantly lying to us.
Correct.
So while we're watching, it's like we know that Stephanie has to know that Sean had nothing to do with it.
But
We're like, okay, is there something else that we don't know about? Does she discover something else?
correct. And that's why I had to watch this a couple times.
Yeah.
Because I was like, did I miss it?
Yeah. So she points the gun at Emily also, and she says, you use me too. And she's like, I watched your kids, I did all this stuff. And he's like, I had no idea she was still alive. Emily's like, okay, guys, I think we should just sit down and talk about this. And he's like, you hated Stephanie. Like, why are you standing up for her, Emily? And he's like, we used to watch her vlog and rip her apart and just make fun of her. And she's like, I always wanted to be your friend. And Emily looks at her, and I kind of
I feel like innocently.
innocently, and I really, really believe when she says it, but she was like, I was like, you were my friend.
Yeah.
And then you fucked my husband.
You did that, and now I don't like you.
Sean's like, don't blame her. This is typical of you. They go on and talk about their debt. They're kind of having a typical husband and wife conversation here, a little argument about money. And she's like, we've been coming up with this. And finally, Stephanie's like, can I say something? I'm the one with the gun. Like, listen to me. Stop talking amongst yourself. Nikki deserves better than both of you. And, Emily's like, I love my kid. So, a lot of finger pointing in the scene.
Correct. Looking for it.
Yep. So she keeps the gun on Sean as he's moving through, hoping that, the situation will, kind of end itself and not in the way that we think it's going to happen. And she's like, I'm going to kill him. And Emily's like, I don't want you to. And then, of course, she pulls the trigger.
Correct.
Shoots Sean right in the chest.
Right in the chest.
She runs over to him and she's like, I can't do this. We can't let him die. I can't believe I shot him. He deserved it, right? Like, trying to come up with all the reasons why it's okay. Emily starts to cry.
Yeah.
Get up.
Confesses to killing the sister.
Yes.
Yes. And then she was like, okay, no, get up.
Yep.
Like, I'm done. Like,
Yep.
you guys I'm done.
Yep. So she confesses. She gets really upset. She confesses to killing the sister. And then she says, finally, get up.
Yep.
Come on, stop doing this. She kicks him in the rib cage and says, get up, Brando. And of course, he wakes up like he's obviously faking it. So they came up with this idea all along. He had a bulletproof vest on with little blood things that'll shoot out. She's like, I knew you guys were up to something. I saw both of the mics. They had the cops planted here. and you clearly wanted a confession out of me so you could clear Sean's name. She's like, you know what? You got the upper hand. Like, you went about it really well. She said you kind of messed up, though. You wanted to protect that fucking yeast infection. She points to Sean and calls him a yeast infection. He's like, yeah, well, that's me. Whatever you want to call me.
Yeah, it's just me.
Love their little pet names for one another. She's like, you gotta know me you gotta know me better than that. You came all emotional with a gun. You know, it's funny because the shift of power here it's very, the power's back and forth.
Yes.
So we as an audience are like, oh,
Even like who?
yes, who is in charge in this moment in time? So she says, yep, I knew that you want a confession out of me and you think you got it, but I already cut the wires before we started talking.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, there you go, one for you, one for you. Of course, Stephanie's like, well, this is disappointing.
She's like, well, crap.
So she said, oh, look what I found. And Emily actually pulls a gun out from the couch.
Mm-hmm.
So now she has a gun and she's like, Stephanie's like, you can't shoot us. There are literally police outside.
Right.
And then she imitates her and she actually does a pretty good job. She's like, hey, Emily's here. I can't even do it.
I was going to say.
But, yeah, but Emily was actually one step ahead of them.
Yeah.
And she actually has them going over to Darren's house.
See?
They're smoking weed. They're hitting the bong with their moms.
Enjoying life. I think he's like eating Cheez-Its.
Yep. They have wine. They're eating Cheez-Its. And the cops slam the door. And, of course, they're all like, oh, no, all the drugs are in there. And she's like, don't you know that I know how to manipulate the system? So we cut back to good old Emily. And she's like, if you kill him, bam, shoots him. And this blood looks a little different.
Yeah, I was like, that's a little different.
Yes. So we got some real blood. And he's like, I can't believe you actually fucking shot me. And she's like, well, I'm going to miss him. She's like, Stephanie's like, Emily, come on, you're not going to kill me. And she's like, oh, yeah, I killed my dad and my sister, but I could never kill my husband fucking best friend. And then Stephanie's like, wait, am I really your best friend? You're not just saying that for, the audience?
Yeah.
And she's like, the audience, what? So here she just admitted to all of the stuff that has happened. And we learn in this moment that Stephanie was actually one step ahead of her with the upper hand.
Yes.
And she has a cute little nanny cam. It's her button on her shirt. And she's recording live for the vlog. Yeah. And
apparently for millions of
millions of subscribers. She has grown a lot. So we actually get to cut to the live vlog and we see what they're seeing. And of course, they did see everything. When Emily realizes that this is true, she says, brother, fucker. And immediately runs off out of the house. We hear sirens in the background. The cops are on the way. Emily still has the gun in her hand. And just as the confrontation is coming to a head, she goes to shoot Stephanie. And as she pulls the gun up, a car comes speeding through, a quiet hybrid.
Silent but deadly.
It's so good. So Darren was driving the car and Darren runs Emily over. She goes flying up in the air and onto the pavement and she starts crawling. And I love Anna Kendrick's performance here too, because she's so sarcastic and goofy.
So sarcastic.
But she's watching Emily as she's crawling on the road, cops coming up behind her, Darren in front of her. Darren's like, I saw you on the blog. You fuck with one of the moms, you fuck with us all. And then she hits him in the dick. Stephanie's like, stop it, Emily. Oh, that looks super painful. No, sweetie, stop. You've just been hit by a car. Don't do this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just the way she's saying it's so
all very like she's talking to a baby, like a kid.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, talking down to her.
Yeah. Literally talking down.
Literally talking down to her.
She's like, oh, what about your knees?
And then she's like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so good. So good. We cut to a blog to another live vlog and she's saying, thanks for joining us. She has a lot of new equipment. The house looks super nice. And basically we learn in this moment that her vlog has evolved.
Yeah.
So not only is she cooking, but she's also a crime solver.
But this is where I'm confused because when Sean came to her house, she was moved back in because obviously he knew to go there. Then on her last vlog, it was either still moving in or moving out. I don't know, but she was in her kitchen. So how are we back now in their kitchen?
That's good. Question. That's a good question.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
And then the details we find out later.
Yep.
So I'm a little confused. But yes, she has a new vlog and I would say career?
Yeah. We should definitely making money off this.
Yes.
So she's talking about how she's also doing unsolved mysteries.
Yes.
She's gonna help people solve crimes to figure everything out.
Yes.
Which I think is pretty cool. So you can watch her bake and cook and do all these fun things while she's also doing that. So if you have a cold case or a mystery that needs to be unraveled, you just drop me a line.
I love it so much.
So then now we're at the end of the film, literal end of the film.
Yeah.
And we cut away from the vlog and we're on a black screen with some text. And it says, Stephanie is a highly successful vlog. It's recently purchased by a publishing giant who plan to turn it into a daily morning show. While her cold case agency has brought over 30 dangerous fugitives to justice, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And she's currently dating somebody from the city. Way to go, Stephanie.
But hold on. Somebody from the city. Is she with, who is that artist?
Oh,
I don't know. I just thought
think about that.
to go into the city.
Interesting. I like that. Look at you. Interesting.
I just thought of that.
Well, hey, maybe she's with Diana, played by Linda Carlini. That's a good observation. I like that.
I know.
Like where your hands at.
I don't know.
And then we learned that Sean has finally released a second novel called The Oopsie Jar. It became a New York Times bestseller, although several critics found the story to be a little bit too far-fetched. Which is funny because I think when you watch this film, I think at the same time you're like, some of this is really far-fetched.
Yeah, you're like, how's this far-fetched? But you're like, wait, they just made it.
He's also currently the head of the literature department at UC Berkeley, where he lives with his son, Nikki, and the father and son are doing fine.
Right.
Now, what's Emily doing?
She's she's serving 20 years in prison for the murders of her father and sister, and also from the newest vlog that happened when she shot her ex-husband.
Yep, good old 20-year sentence.
20 years for two people. I feel like that's,
I know.
I don't know, whatever.
Well, then the funny thing is, instead of it just being just the font for Emily, it then immediately cuts to Emily in an orange jumpsuit in prison playing basketball. She has
she's like these cute like braids and everything too.
It's very Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
And it's just she has adjusted to prison life quite nicely.
I'm sure she's.
So that is the wonderful A Simple Favor. So that was the ending of the film.
Yes.
There are actually two alternate endings.
Oh.
Yes. So the one ending I'm not 100% sure of. It's not available to watch.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about the other alternate ending. So instead of getting the on-screen text that we got to get like a little life update, the original ending of the film was fast forward a little bit into the future, and Stephanie is at school. She's in one of the classes, and all of a sudden, Darren comes running over to her, frantic, and he's like, "Please come quick, hurry! There's a body on the playground." So Stephanie's like, "What the?"
Yeah.
So she runs out with Darren, and they go out into the play yard, and there's a whole bunch of people all around, little kids and moms and stuff like that. And laying down on the ground, the body is of Sean, and Sean's outlined in chalk, like they do in crime scenes. And she's like, "Wait, this is really weird." And he stands up, and then it all turns into a flash mob. All the people on the playground, big flash mob.
Yeah.
Everyone shows up from the film.
Okay.
And proposes to Stephanie.
Oh my gosh.
And that is the ending of the film.
My gosh. First off, a flash mob would be amazing. I don't know how I would feel about that ending.
Yeah, so that was the original ending of the film.
Okay.
Paul Feig, they do screenings for films. What they do is they kind of do like test audiences. They're usually people within inner circles and stuff.
Sure.
They get like random, average goers to come in, and you kind of like rate the film afterwards. What'd you love about it? What'd you hate about it?
Yeah.
So the ending of the film did not test very well, which was the flash mob scene.
Yeah.
So they decided they needed to do a different ending. The other ending, I forget exactly what it is, but Stephanie goes to visit Emily in prison, and she talks about how she needs to solve like another crime. And Emily's like, "I'm going to help you." Very like Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. I was going to say, okay.
Yeah. So I think I would have been okay with that one too.
I would have been okay with that one.
I do like the ending that we got though. But yeah, so.
I had no clue that there was.
Yeah.
I should have known better.
Yeah, so I'm definitely happy with the ending that we got.
Yeah.
Now, do you know that there is a sequel coming out? They finished filming the sequel. It'll be A Simple Favor 2.
Oh.
Everyone is returning. Yep. So it should be out sometime, I'm assuming, in early 2025.
Okay.
Paul Feig is currently editing the film.
Okay.
So they're getting ready to do like the test audiences for it.
So he did it too.
Yep. So I think honestly everyone's back for it. From my understanding.
And Blake's been doing stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, again. So I think that's great.
Yeah. So yeah, that's super exciting. Something for us to look forward to. One slightly frustrating thing about it though is that it's going straight to streaming, so it will not be a theatrical film.
Gotcha.
So of course that's the day and age that we live in. It doesn't mean nowadays it doesn't mean it's a bad quality film.
Sure.
10 years ago we get that, you'd be like, oh, it's going,
Like, oh, it's just going straight there.
Yeah.
That's not going to be good.
be like, yeah, that's not a good thing. So, all right. So now that we've seen A Simple Favor,
Yes.
we walked through it. We talked about it. Fun facts. We broke down some scenes, kind of how we felt about things. Are you still sitting at a 7.5?
I still think so. Just
Yeah.
because they're like, again, how we were talking about it, it all happens so quick in like a short time frame.
Yeah.
I wish it was spread out a little bit more personally. But just a couple little things that I just was like wishy-washy on.
Yeah. I think, oddly enough, I think I'd actually bump it down to a 7.5 to kind of match yours. Because kind of walking through that, I did kind of, while we were talking about that stuff, I did
Yeah.
notice that a lot more.
It's just like little things
Yeah.
that I felt like that they could have detailed a little bit more on.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to like make the movie extra long, but just like little details.
Yeah.
But I'm curious though about the book.
Yeah.
I want to read the book now compared to
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, read it. Let me know how it is. I'd like to hear what you think about it. Like I said, my mom likes the book a lot more. She did read the book first, though, so she kind of took in a different viewpoint, I guess. But yeah, well, Chelsea, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thanks
I really appreciate it. I'm happy that you got to see this film for the first time and watch it a couple of times and sit here and talk about it with me. So I had a great time. Did you enjoy yourself?
I was nervous.
Yeah, you're nervous.
I was nervous, but I'm good.
Okay.
I think we could do this again.
Okay, I think I actually have a plan for this.
Oh no.
So October, I want to do some horror movies. I'd love for you to do I Know You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Chelsea had mentioned to me she had never seen I Know What You Did Last Summer. So I'm going to use that as one of my horror movies for the month of October. Again, Chelsea, thank you so much. Everyone, thanks for tuning in and listening to our episode of 2018's A Simple Favor. And hopefully everyone gets to catch A Simple Favor 2 when it comes to streaming sometime in early 2025. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Chelsea, thank you so much. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.